Alright, welcome to another required practical. We're going to talk about density today. We're going to do 3 activities measuring the density of 3 objects. The first activity, we're going to look at the density of regular shaped cuboid objects. Second activity, we're going to look at irregularly shaped objects and how to measure their density. Activity 3, we're going to look at measuring the density of a fluid. So firstly, what is density? Density is the amount of matter contained within a certain volume, or the amount of mass contained within a certain area of space or a certain volume. Okay, we calculate the density of something by taking the mass and we divide it by the volume. In this activity, that's what we're going to do. Right, so starting off then. So the first activity, measuring the density of regular cubes. So there's my cubes. Okay, so I've got 2 cubes. I'm just putting them up to the camera just to show that they are exactly the same. They're exactly the same size. Okay, so all I need to do is measure the dimensions of just one of those cubes, and they're both got the same dimensions. So here I go. I'm just measuring the dimensions just so that I can calculate the volume. And there we go. There's our dimensions. Remember, I can calculate volume just by multiplying the dimensions together. Right, so next step then, I am going to take the cube, I'm going to pop it on the scales to get a measurement of its mass in grams. The first block I measure has a mass of 468 grams, that's the steel block. I also do the same thing with the wooden block. I take a measurement, I get 27 grams, 27.3 grams for the steel block. Right, next step then, let's calculate the density of both of them. So I'm just going to take the volume. So first things first, I'm going to calculate the volume. I'm going to take the side lengths, multiply them together. 3 times by 4 times by 5 is going to give me 60 centimeters cubed of volume. Now for the steel block, I'm just going to take the mass of 468 grams. And I'm going to divide that by the volume of 60. So 468 divided by 60 is going to give me 7.8 grams per centimeter cubed. I'm going to do the same thing for the wood. I'm going to take the mass of the wood, which was 27.3 grams. I'm going to divide that by the volume 60. I get 0.46 grams per centimeter cubed. Okay, right, on to activity 2. So activity 2 then is me measuring the density of irregularly shaped objects. I've got a hook, okay? It's a metal hook that I've just found. Tied some string to it. I'm going to pop it on the scales first to measure the mass. I get a mass of 394 grams. Okay, so 394 grams. Now, what I need to do is measure the volume. How on earth do I measure the volume of something like that? Well, I'm going to use Archimedes' principle, okay? You've heard about the guy who got in the bath and he discovered something. When he got in the bath, he found the water level rose. The water level goes up. And then he got out of the bath, ran around the street naked, shouting, "Eureka!" This is what he's discovered. So we're going to use the thing that he's discovered here to calculate the volume of the hook. Okay, you can see that I've got this is what's called an Archimedes can. Okay, so it's basically just a can with a spout that points downwards out the side. I'm going to fill the can. You can see the can is filled almost, well, it's filled exactly up to where the spout is. Yeah, so anything that goes in there is going to displace some of the water. That means it's going to push it out of the way, and it's going to have to escape down that spout. And I'm going to collect the water that's escaped down that spout in a measuring cylinder, and I can then use that to calculate the volume that the water that is displaced. Okay, so you can see that it's right up to the top. Now, here's my hook. I'm just going to gradually lower it in. Okay, so slowly, and you can see that the water's pouring out of the spout down there. So the hook is displacing water. It's pushing water down the spout, and it's pushing the exact amount of water that it is displacing. It's pushing out of the way. In other words, it's just pushing out of the way its own volume in water. There we go. So I'm going to take a reading of volume from the measuring cylinder. So I'll pop it on the table just to get I get down eye level with it to minimize errors, and I can see that I've got a volume. Okay, right, next step, we need to calculate density. This one's not too difficult. Okay, so I just take the mass of 394 and I divide it by the volume, which we just worked out was 36. So 394 divided by 36 gives me 10.9 grams per centimeter cubed of density. Okay, right. Finally then, activity 3. So how are we going to measure the density of a fluid? Not too difficult, okay? I'm going to use a measuring cylinder. What I'm going to do to start with is measure the mass of the measuring cylinder. Eventually what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the fluid in there. The fluid I'm using is brine. Brine is basically it's salt water, but it's highly saturated salt water, so it's just saturated salt water. So the measuring cylinder, I've measured the mass of the measuring cylinder, so eventually I'm going to put some brine into that measuring cylinder, and I just need to know the mass of the measuring cylinder so I can subtract it from the mass of the brine and the measuring cylinder. Yeah, you'll see what I mean when I do this. So I've just poured the brine out. I'm going to pour it into the measuring cylinder, and I'm going to take a reading of volume as well. Okay, I try and get it about 50. I think I end up getting about 51 in the end. There we go. There's the brine. Yeah, so it's about 51 grams. Oh, sorry, 51 centimeter cubed. Now I'm going to take the measuring cylinder and I'm going to place it. So I'm going to take the measuring cylinder and I'm going to place it on the scales. I'm going to take a mass of both the measuring cylinder and the liquid. Okay. Now, in order to calculate the density of the liquid, I need to figure out the mass of the liquid. So I've got the mass of the liquid and the measuring cylinder. All I need to do is just subtract the mass of the measuring cylinder. So I take 98 minus 44, I get 54 grams. Okay, so the brine has a mass of 54 grams. I then need to take 54 grams and divide it by the volume. I saw on the side of the measuring cylinder that I had a volume of 51. So I get 54 divided by 51. I get 1.06 grams per centimeter cubed of density. So there's our 3 activities for measuring density. And I will see you in the next video.